Welcome back to Count Me In, IMA's podcast about all things affecting the accounting and finance world. I'm Mitch Rochong, and in today's episode, we'll hear Adam Larson talk with global finance data and tech leader Khaled Chowdhury as they discuss finance culture transformation. Khaled is the finance director of analytics and business intelligence at Cabot Microelectronics. But even with such a focus on data and technology, he really emphasizes the importance of focusing on people first and how any business transformation starts with the culture of the organization. Let's go to the conversation and hear what else he has to say.
What is your philosophy on finance culture transformation?
My philosophy around culture transformation, I think it's not really exclusive to finance, but culture is a living organism, which are the sum of the people, right? And when it comes to cultural transformation, investing in technology usually backfires. And the best way I have found the philosophy of finance culture transformation is to invest in people. However, investing in people, you also have to kind of go from an agile methodology. You kind of have to have small proof of concept, see if that works. If that works, you kind of push them on. And one of the key things as I push for change even to this day, I think it's a quote from Peaceful Warrior that says, the key to change is to spend all your energy building the new, not fighting the old. When we talk about culture transformation, it's not necessarily about finance or whatnot. It's people change, right? So essentially, culture is what is acceptable, how people behave, and what is at one point, what is acceptable and what is expected, right? The kind of culture dictates that part. And from that perspective, if we don't ask the question, especially we're in the precipice of the fourth industrial revolution, it is about to change big time. I mean, it has already, but it's the impacts are starting to show up in smaller spaces. People have been talking about all this new technology, whether it's going to work or not. But at the end of the day, most of the technology actually are in pretty good shape that it actually can be used. But the problem is we don't have any good drivers. Driver meaning the people who would drive the technology.
So then how would you take technology, thinking about how technology is going to not take away jobs, but change jobs? How do you infuse technology into your organization to kind of enhance its capacity?
So I think I will quote something that I say to my boss, right? I say, if you want me to be around, I'm going to cause a rebellion. And he's looking like, are you crazy? My answer was, you want a revolution, but a revolution is only a successful rebellion, right? So, and the reason I like the concept of revolution is it happens from inward, not outward. And the reason I'm saying that is because think about in our finance organization, IT would come to us, say that, hey, we have this great product called SAP, BPC, or whatnot. They'll come to you, try to install those, and it's going to make all our problems go away. At the end of the day, it takes our life away when we try to do the implementation. But again, when it comes to actually using it, we become slaves of the tool. So in terms of infusing technology to the business or the finance profession, I kind of see it as a relationship with the technology. Whether are you the master of the technology or are you the servant? Technology is an absolutely awesome servant, but absolutely horrible master. And coming from that perspective, the best way to infuse technology into any business on the finance function is to see how we can start inward, take things that we are currently doing, what is it that we can do to automate and liberate so that we can focus on the next stuff, right? And instead of trying to go from crawling to running, you have to kind of learn how to crawl better before you can even walk. And then you go from walking to running. And it is a lot of dependent on investing people to send them for training and giving them exposure to what is possible.
Thinking about a company that is, trying to infuse this new technology and thinking that it's good for them, it, having that business technologist on hand, what kind of carryover similarities do you see in members of that transformation team that's kind of implementing these technologies? And then how do accountants and their skill set fit in that?
So I think it's more about a mindset. So one of the concepts that's taught by Clay Christensen, he wrote The Innovator's Dilemma. He's a very famous professor on strategy, is to focus on job to be done. It's going to be the people who looks at the task as something there is a meaning behind it, rather than completing a task. They understand what job it is performing. Because from one perspective, the job we're doing is not going away, but the task, how it is done, is going to change. And people who can kind of break the shackles of what has been done before to be able to see farther, right? So think about this way, right? So this goes back a couple of years when I was talking to my chief accounting officer, and in FP&A. So I came up through management accounting, then FP&A. I've been in FP&A for a pretty long time now, and most of us who are successful in our jobs tend to be Excel whizzes, right? Now, there is two things you can do with becoming Excel whiz. You can just develop something that's nerdy or something pretty complex and for the heck of it, versus whether you actually use it to get some job done. So it's a lot about coming out of your desk and going and trying to solve a problem. So it's essentially, it's business technology. So you have a business problem, you have a technology, you go solve it. So think about the old days, the accountants who would know whatever tool set, whatever skill set, whether it's Excel, SAP, whatever they had, they would see a person in problem, they will come out of their desk and go solve that problem. I think that is, the way Harvard put it is there is a premium on curiosity. So it's essentially the curious kind have a huge benefit in today's world, because they usually tend to go find out what's working and what's not.
That makes sense. It's good to have that curious mind. And thinking about, we've been talking about technology and how, transforming your team and getting that technology in there. But once you have that technology, there's things like data analytics that are, that seem to drive our decisions. What would be the end goal of creating a data analytics kind of driven culture where you're looking at the data and making decisions based on that? What's the end goal of that?
I think if you think from that perspective, right, regardless of what activity you're looking in a business, I see it as three. If it has fulfilled three things, that means it's make worthy of investment. Either it would have to increase my top line or reduce my cost. Both of them actually ends up in a higher bottom line. And there's actually a third option considered as risk mitigation. So if something that will mitigate some exposure to my top or bottom line or the existence of the business. So if you come from that perspective, question becomes are we investing in data analytics or people to make the decision process faster? And let me be honest, right? You're never going to have perfect data. It's about, like it or not, it's going to come down to a lot of gut decision. Now, question is, how informed is your gut, right? So that mechanism is starting to change of how fast and how often can we give that information to the decision makers. And to be honest, like as I'm trying to build my team and we're trying to drive a culture change, the part that I like to highlight is the most important thing is your employees. And that's why I keep coming back to training. The most important thing you have is your employees, and the people that holds you accountable is your customers. So from a finance and accounting perspective, we have our people, our senior accountants, our financial analysts, and all the people that comes with it. And they are our assets, but at the same time, our customers are our business, right? So we invest in our people for them to move on. So, I mean, we keep coming back to technology, but it's about what I want to highlight. If anyone wants to take away one thing from it, is how well our people are capable of using those technologies. And using technologies requires technical skills, but at the same time, it requires soft skills. And one person on my team, Evelina, she highlighted is what I was saying earlier about you have to know why we're in business for, what makes the business money, what makes it profitable.
You've mentioned focusing on the people, focusing on getting them trained, and obviously the people need to have the inspiration to actually do that training. So is that kind of the first step of initiating like a complete finance and analytics culture transformation that it's kind of been the theme. We've been talking about transforming your culture and analytics and finance. Is that first step, is getting them out there and almost like kicking them out the door and saying, hey, go learn something new?
So I think the way I prefer doing is something that I picked up from a friend of mine, Austin Suntzman. And the best way he put it is you create the stage for it. So especially at my current stage, I would prepare the stage. Essentially, I would show a little bit of what's possible, and I will give them a little bit of help in getting started with. So essentially, you start a little bit of the fire for them to see what it is. And then after that, you step away. You step away for a month or 2 months and see, all of us are busy, right? Even the task that might go away is keeping us busy right now. So question becomes is who, even in that stance, the curiosity gets the better of them and they will take that fire, what you call take the little bit kindling and turn it into a fire. So they're going to struggle, right? So as you try to change first, it's struggle. So for me, the people that I look for to be on the team or my pioneers are the people who gets started on their own, makes the highest amount of mistakes because they're trying. So like another good friend of mine, Wylan Lemare, he was the director of accounting when I was in KMG at the beginning. He said, he's a friend from Texas. He said, don't know, can't fix that. Don't want to know, your mama broke you, can't fix you. But coming back to the same point, right? So he's from Louisiana, Texas, but anyways, again, it comes back to the fact that you have to be willing to learn. And that's where my identifier is essentially is the people who get started with the little before you invest a lot in them. And that's why I also have the advice for people who are out there is to get started on your own. Don't wait for the company. Because when you start showing results, the company will come to you.
This has been Count Me In, IMA's podcast, providing you with the latest perspectives of thought leaders from the accounting and finance profession. If you like what you heard and you'd like to be counted in for more relevant accounting and finance education, visit IMA's website at www.imanet.org.